Hi, my dear students. Good morning to one and all. My hearty welcome to our online class in English for plus 2 students. Students, we are having 2 lessons earlier. Now we are going to take a very important poem. In this flamingo, we are going to take the first poem, My Mother at 66. By Kamala Das, or we may say Madhavi Kuti, or we would say later Kamala Suraya after her conversion to Islam. In Kerala, the Keralais generally call her Madhavi Kuti, but later after her marriage at her 15, when she attained 15 years old, she got married. After that, her name has changed, Kamala Das. Now, Kamala Das, you know very well, very familiar poet to Keralais. She is regarded as the great Indian English poet. The great Indian English poet. You might have asked her qualification, everything, but it is a wonderful thing. It's a matter of discussion. I'm not going to that area. Anyway, she has contributed a lot in the field of stories, in the field of poems, in the field of novels, etc. Her famous novel, Alphabet A Lust, is a very famous one. Very famous. Alphabet A Lust. Again, Padmavati, a harlot. This is a collection of stories, and the first one is her novel, very famous. Very famous and very recognized and very adorned writer as a very gift to Kerala, and her works or her novels and short stories are all translated into various languages of India. And the most important particular thing is a very well-versed lady in English. She has contributed an extraordinary additions to our English language and literature. This is very important. So, born in 1934 at Thrissur, Thrissur district, and she died in 2009 after completing 75 years of her lifespan. Now, my dear students, in the heading itself, you ought to know very well. Her father was V.M. Nair, very famous journalist. Each and every student, at least in the area of Malayalam literature and journalism sector, they know this name very well. And mother was Mrs. Balamani Amma, very famous writer, very much what we called celebrated writer in Kerala. That was the reason why Kamala Das got Kamaladas got the temptation and the temptation or the inspiration to write a lot. Mainly, her writings are quite different from all other writings. Something related to ladies and it covers all their private areas related to all sexual field. That's a very important one. I am not coming to that point. Anyway, here mother at 66, you know very well that mother who has 66 years of age, or she was 66 years old. Now, very surely, very clearly, we would know one thing, that at the age of 66, we know very well that in each and every person, whether it is male or female, who like to have the presence of their sons and daughters nearby, for treating them well, for nursing them well, for comforting them, for soothing them, for giving good words, good advice, for interaction, for conversing something. And for all these, they always, when a person who attains about 60 years of age, definitely in olden times and also in the present time also, though present time it is a nuclear home situation, still we want the presence of our sons and daughters or son and daughter nearby our bed. That is our customary, because we want certain comfort, we want some calm, tranquility, pleasantness with their presence. So that is the case here also. But here one thing is, with this poem is very, very important in one sense. Now, Kamala Das has written this poem in a very sensitive manner. Very sensitive manner. And it is very frankly she exposes all the things. Very frank. This poem is very frank. And nothing to hide there. She exposes it. Very sensitive one. Very frank. And she is drawing all her inner feelings. The inner feelings. The inner feelings. She draws her inner feelings. What are the inner feelings, you know? When at this age of 66, her mother was very, what we call, very weak, and also very ill healthy condition. And also mother needed the support of anybody to walk, to move, to get some refreshment or to get some relaxation. So in all the signs, what will be the inner feelings? The inner feelings of sorrow. We would have at this time inner feelings of sorrow and also we would grieve a lot. And also we'd feel much emotion would be there. We would be highly emotional in the sense, emotional feelings of pity, sympathy, empathy and kindness. All these would come to cherish on her mother. But the problem here was not that. Kamala Das had all these good emotional settings in her mind. Though she had all the feelings, but she had no time at that time on that particular day. That day was on a particular Friday. We are talking about that particular Friday journey or travel. It is not a journey, it is not a travel. That particular days or Friday's travel to the railway station. From where? From her home, from her parental home to Cochin airport. So, Cochin Airport. So we would understand one thing. So she was driving on a car, and her mother was there beside her, and she was not at all healthy, she was not at all vigor, she had no vitality, she had no enjoyment, she didn't even laugh, she didn't even talk properly, in such a critical condition. But Kamala Das could never stay at home, she had to leave. That is her personal matter. Her husband was working her husband was in a Reserve Bank of India RBI officer working in Calcutta, and the thing was that she brought her mother along with her to the railway station. Now this poem has two parts that we can see. One part refers to what are the feelings or emotional settings that come, or that are what were the emotional feelings or emotional variations that came in her mind, and it oppressed her, or it made her to burst out. So we would understand one thing, that they were moving to railway station, they were moving to Cochin Airport, and mother was beside her lying on that seat, and in the midst she was on the way, she had a glance at her mother, or she looked now and then to the face of her beloved mother, only on two conditions. There was two-sided pulling in her mind. One pulling was she had to go, or she had to undergo that flight, or she had to fly from there. Another one was whether she had the power to separate, or she had the power to leave her mother alone in that condition. So that is a general occurrence in almost all the cases of employees and all the cases of other professionals also at the time, because Kamala Das was brought up in such a position with love, care, attention, concentration, giving all her desires and satisfy all her willingness, everything by mother. But at this critical stage, she could not properly sit and nurse and care and give comfort and anything to her mother. It's very, 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 very sorrowful condition. So she was moving, and mother was lying in that vehicle, and they were moving. And she had all these thoughts in her mind. So the thought of separating her mother, the thought of leaving her mother alone, the thought of her aged condition, she was 66, and she had this thought, another thought also came in her mind that she had only 66, and she had all the aging problems and all the aging illness, all the aging weakness, everything were there. And she thought for a while whether she could come and see her mother once again. She thought for a while, because it is at this time, at the age of 66, and mother was very weak also. So it may happen or it may not happen. It is not a concrete fact that she could come and see her mother very soon, because she was not in a good condition. Health condition was very poor. So she thought for a while. So she even thought of her mother's death meanwhile. That means when she left from the Cochin Airport, she also thought meanwhile mother would die, before her arrival once again to her home. So that was a pitiable thought. So by the car. She had two sides. Now we had one side. No, it is very important thing that we know very well. All of us know that we had a lot of sorrowful or sad or pitiable or bloodshed condition in our life, and we would not stuck on that. We would not really stick on that particular aspect. Immediately we would switch on to other pleasantry aspects or joy, joy or happiness situation, or we would immediately switch over to some pleasantries, or we would immediately switch over some what we call some glee or some what is called the beautiful areas in our land. For what? In order to cover, in order to hide our hidden sorrowful or painful or our something what we called hurting feelings of our mind. We would hide from them somehow. So she was moving to the airport. Now she looked her mother once, and she could see her mother was lying with a open mouth in a ash condition. Ash means in a bloodless condition. Very weak her face was. 65 she was. Very ashen. And dozing. Mother was dozing. Dozing, a slight sleep. Mother was dozing. And she was lying like a corpse. Corpse means dead body. Like a dead body, she was lying. Without much motion, without much movement, without talking even a single or uttering even a single word to her daughter. She was there, lying like simply lying in that vehicle. So Kamala Das looked at her and she collected all her inner feelings of sorrow, pain, heartfelt scenes. Meanwhile, immediately she switched off the another. The another, on the way she could see two other contrasting. We would contrast, or we would compare all these things, contrast them. The contrasting, the spilling of boys from their, boys are rushing out from their homes on the way. For what? For playing outside, for making jolly, for making a joke and company, for making a joyful condition outside. So she could immediately glance outside, boys are spilling out. And immediately sprinting of woods or trees. Sprinting means, sprint. Usha is, we would qualify Usha sprint queen of India. Now springing up, the trees are going past. Trees are going past. When we would go ahead, we could see on both sides the trees are moving or leaving past. She could see all the trees are. So very nice to see that the moving of the trees behind to our side, or the passing of those trees behind to our side. So that's a very nice scene to interact. Then also the sprinting and sprinting of trees. Now she got some pleasant, she got some enjoyment, she got some interest, she got some beauties, she got some enlightenment, she got some lighting aspects to come outside or to come out from the gloomy or the sad or the foggy situation that her mother had made her. So After the issues moving and reaching out, this contrast, no, in this poem we could see that every verse had made contrasting events. Contrasting events. She reached there, and the second part, now she reached the airport. Now there were so many formalities or official matters to do. After completing all their official or formalities at the airport, even checkings were over, and after that she once again looked at her mother for, and she made an attempt. That is the second part. She made an attempt. She made an attempt to, second part. She made an attempt to smile. Really, she could not smile. We are making an artificial smile on our face. We cannot clearly or we cannot knowingly make a smile on that time because the sorrow was still there, intensifying her mind. So she made a smile and said goodbye to her mother, saying, "See you soon." It means that there are two important things. Her expectation to come back and see her mother and have a company and have an enjoyment with her beloved mother is one thing. Other thing was she would expect her mother to live long until her arrival from her particular point to where she was moving now. So she had two things. The mother's lifespan should be extended. She prayed God to be extended until her arrival. The other thing, mother would be very healthy position or healthy condition or in a healthy mood until she arrived her. So she said goodbye to her mother and remarking or stating this remark, "See you, mother." And she smiled, she smiled, she smiled. 3 times she was repeating. Because such was the intensity of her sorrow or her grief or her sadness to depart, to separate, to made her alone at their parental home at Thrissur. She could not, but really she had to go. That was the condition. Now my dear students, let us go to the poem, and we have to understand that this poem has a particular important quality. This poem is written only in a very lengthy sentence, giving a lot of separate bits of points by giving commas. It's only a long sentence, and we have to understand that it is one stretch of thought that came in our mind. It cannot be divided. That reflexive thought came in our mind at a sudden, and it would pass on from beginning to ending at a sudden or at a stretch or at a moment of reflection. And that was why it was written in a single sentence. So many contrasts are there. We would go the line by line, and you can understand it very easily. Very simple poem. And generally poems are, whether it is English or Malayalam, whatever may be the language, it is not a matter. All poems are for enjoyment and appreciation. Here what enjoyment we would get? Here we would have a concept of what we call an emotional uprise in our mind. How could we leave our aged parents? That is one important thing. Another important thing, another important thing that we have to understand in life, aging is one important thing. Aging or becoming old age. No, after our birth, we would complete our childhood, then youth. After youth, then childhood, adolescent stage, youth, early youth, then our old age. This process, that we would say the natures, that is a phase of our real life. That you have to understand. The phase of our real life. The phase of our real life. A person, if his lifespan is more than 60, then he has to complete all these stages. In all these stages, a person has to undergo, or a person has to overcome a lot of stages. In the lower stage, when he was young, when he was a schoolboy or college boy, or when he was an early youth, he had so many pleasantries, he had so many occasions of enjoyment, joyfulness, glad and beauty, and a lot of merrymaking and joyful situations. We would go in that track without caring anyone, because we were healthy, we were very charmed, we were much vitality was there on our side, and we have much courage, and we were very much adapted to overcome all the barriers that were in front. But when we come to the last stage, at the old age, all our mirth, all our glory, all our happiness, all our energy, all our indigenous qualities, all our talents, everything would come to a diminishing stage. Or we would say they would start diminishing day by day, and that means we are going to the last resort of helplessness, or we are going to the last stage of weakness, and feeble voice would come, and health condition generally would become very, very unsatisfactory one. And all these negative steps or negative aspects would come and make a stock in our body. That would be the old stage. But we cannot neglect the fact that old stage is also a phase of our real life. We have to see that phase. We have to make it a happy one. We have to make it a pleasantry one. We have to at the maximum level possible, we have to make it calm, peace, and should be a very appreciable one. By whom? With the presence of our daughters, with the presence of our sons, with the presence of our grandchildren, or with the presence of our relatives. Then only your life would be very happy. So the message is, aging is an important phase in our life. All our That is why, if that comfort or if that assistance or if that facilities are lacking, that is why generally we could see so many are moving or so many are thinking about committing suicide, and some parents, aged parents are laying to get shelter at old age homes because they are really lacking all these facilities of their own home, or sometimes there might be no one to care them, no one to attend to them. So there are so many reasons. So aging is one important problem for all this. So my dear students, please take your textbook. Driving from my parents' home to Cochin last Friday morning, I saw my mother beside me. Very simple. Kamala Das was moving to Cochin airport, and mother was sitting beside her or by her side. She was moving to Cochin airport to a boarding in that flight. Mother was doors open mouth, her face ashen like that of a corpse, and realized with pain the structural or physical condition of her mother. She was dozing. She was having or a light sleep. Automatically it would come. Then open mouth. Her face face was like ash, completely in whitish color. That means we could see no blood on her face. That means she became very weak, very feeble. And no mirth was there on her face. No vitality was there. Of course, like a corpse, she was lying without any movement, without even uttering a single word. That realized with pain. Kamala Das realized all this condition. I told you earlier that by seeing such a condition, she could not separate her mother from her side, or she could not leaving her mother alone in that condition. So that pain really was there in her mind, but I told you earlier, she had to go anyway. Beside me, doors open mouth, her face ashen like that of a corpse, and realized with pain. She realized that it was a very intense pain to separate her mother at this condition, but she had no other option. So she was forced to separate her mother. That she was as old as she looked. She was very old. She was 66. And also, at the time of 67, but she was very ill healthy condition also. Very, very weak, very feeble condition. But soon put that thought, I told you that a contrast immediately came there. She was thinking about mother's deplorable condition, mother's pitiable condition, mother's inseparable condition. But immediately she cast her eyes to some outside. She made a look outside. There she could see certain joyful sights, sceneries she could get or collect from outside. What were they? That thought where she looked out, young trees sprinting. Their travel was in the midst of trees or in the midst of woods. The road was in the midst of woods. So trees were passing past. Their vehicle was moving ahead. So that was very nice scene. Nice to see and nice to observe. That thought I looked out, young trees sprinting. Then another second one, the merry children. Children were very merry, happy. Generally, children were very merry and happy at that particular time. Those schools are closed, though they have no other duties. They would run and play and jump and talk and fight and whatever may be the moments they get in the midst of leisure, they would make it very merry. They would make it very merry and interesting. No, the merry children spilling out of their homes, they came from their home in a rushy manner forward to play outside, to enjoy outside or to have some outside activities. But after the airport, Kamala others reached the airport, and she reached the airport, and as normally she had to undergo that the security check and all official or formalities there. She underwent all those formalities there. And meanwhile, anyway, she was inside the airport, and she was going to leave her mother, and she was going to separate her mother. That was a matter of much intensity or a matter of much sorrow. So, she looked again at her, wan pale. Once again she looked. She was looking wan, that is where she was very pale. No, mother was again, she looked at her mother, it was very pale, and very pale also her face, and like that winter moon. In the spring is the youth time, and winter is old age time, and in the winter, during the winter time the moon comes, but always it is faded by the cloud. It is not a brighty one. It is not a bright one, so a gloomy one, it is faded one. Like that, her mother was also, she could see mother was, her face was very faded one, and there was no mirth and happiness on her face. And the familiar ache again came in her mind. What was the familiar ache? The ache or pain of leaving her mother. Because from childhood onwards, her mother had been giving all comforts, all luxuries, all possible facilities to her daughter Kamala Das, but she could not forget all those things. But there was no option before her. She was going to say, she made an artificial smile before her mother and say, and smile and smile and smile. She smiled 3 times. Really, all the 3 times smile were really artificial one. Really, it was not the outcome of the real outcome of her mindset. It was an artificial one. Saying, mother, see you, mother. She expected mother would live happily and healthily until her arrival or until she returned from her working place. Thus, she concludes that poem saying goodbye to her mother. My dear students, a very important, a nice poem and very simple poem, but we have to understand the message also. Aging is a very important one. That is an important phase of our lifespan. I think you have known this, you have understood all the aspects of this poem, and it is very sensitive and also very thought-provoking and also very emotional feelings, and this poem is widely celebrated and accepted all the people both in India and abroad. Thank you all.